What's this? A seemingly normal article about what football will look like in the future? Well, let's check it out. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, this should be fun. 17,776. An interesting number, just 1 7 off from the date that the US declared its independence, and coincidentally, also the title of one of the greatest science fiction webcomics in modern history. If you're not familiar with it, that might seem like an exaggeration, but with the deep exploration of human nature, society, and science combined with some of the best characters and humor, I would say it's an accurate statement. Originally created by John Boyce, I hope I'm not completely butchering that, in 2017 for the sports website SB Nation. Fun fact, I actually read this for the first time when it was originally coming out. I was on vacation with my family and I would keep checking for updates every day on my little iPod Touch. Anyways, the story in a nutshell is about a distant future, in the year 17,776, where humanity has essentially become immortal. But instead of telling a grand story of technology and aliens and everything else we've come to expect from the sci-fi genre, it actually tells a bleak story of a society who has run out of things to accomplish and has nothing better to do than to entertain themselves with little games, including the iconic all-American pastime of football. Sounds interesting, right? Well, buckle up, people, because in this video, I'm gonna go deep into the lore and the themes of 17,776, also known as what will football look like in the future. Both really long things to say. So grab a snack, get comfy, and let's talk about some football. So possibly the most interesting aspect to me, at least, is that the main characters aren't even on Earth. They're actually not even human. Our narrators are, in fact, 3 space probes, real ones, that have been hurtling through space for so long that they've evolved into sentience and are able to communicate with each other and with Earth. The first of which is Pioneer 9, usually just referred to as 9, launched in 1968, and they're essentially our main character. We watch as they wake up for the first time, knowing absolutely nothing aside from their residual knowledge that's built up over the years. As they learn about what happened to humanity, so do the readers. The one who helps them awake is Pioneer 10, who is described as 9's younger / older sister. I mean, it's complicated, don't worry about it. 10 is very proper and intellectual and tends to be on the side of we should play by the rules during the story. And last, but absolutely not least, is Jupiter Icy Moon's explorer, who is known as Juice. Fun fact, again, the real Juice is set for launch in April 2023, so look forward to that. Juice as a character is just chaos incarnate. One of our first impressions of him is literally just him going on a rant about the perfection of Lunchables, and then he says the words ham, cheese, and cracker for about 5 minutes straight. Basically, he's just like a kind of a foil for 10, an opposite. He's like, he prefers things to be a little wonky, a little crazy. So throughout the story, we get glimpses of these evolved forms of football that people are playing across the country. Since humans can no longer be injured thanks to these little robots they call nanos, they can prevent any harm from befalling humans. These games can span thousands of miles long and take millennia to complete. Friendships are made, lost, experiences are gained, and people can even settle down with a significant other and still be playing the game. It's almost incomprehensible to us, wasting so much time and effort on a game. But 10 says it best herself. Well, this is what I'd say to that. There's no indication that these people's lives will ever end. They will never run out of time. Wasting implies the consumption of something that you can't get back. So if they have an infinite supply of time, can they ever really waste any of it? At this point in the story, you kind of take a moment to reflect on yourself. What can you do in a situation like this? We learn throughout the story that in all this time, they've never found any signs of life anywhere else in the universe. They've developed things like supercomputers and flying cars, but inventions like that are made to save time. And when you have an infinite supply of time, what's the point? So instead, humanity stagnates. They need the comfort of an average life. They need to feel a breath of fresh air or the annoyance at a slow computer, a cramped subway train. Otherwise, you just go crazy. So there you go. I'm gonna quote 10 again here. They could continue wandering through the endless darkness and absence of everything they loved, an endless void of disappointment and loneliness. Or they could look down and embrace what they always had and loved. But to me, it's not the things that happen to the humans in the story that stand out as the focal point. To me, the comic really shines with the commentary from the narrators, the space probes, and their development of their characters. To be fair, I've always been sort of a nerd when it comes to character analysis, so that's probably why. But anyway, it's like, not only do you get immediately attached to these characters, they also have so much life and humanity in them, despite being colored text 99% of the time and a pile of metal hurtling through space the other 1%. Despite only being awake for a short amount of time, 9 ends up with this almost familial bond with the other two. Like, in the beginning, there's this one other quote that I wrote down that really stuck with me. Who are you? I love you. It's such a simple quote, and I feel like it could be so easily looked past, but it's the kind of quote that sticks in your brain for a long time. It holds a lot of weight. The feeling of being so utterly isolated in the vacuum of space that you will tell a complete stranger, I love you, just after you met them. And even though these characters are machines, they have such real human flaws and struggles. 10 has a literal canonical typo, for God's sake. I know that was probably just a mistake that they decided to make a joke about, but still counts. And juice. Juice. He's so ADHD coded. Like, there's this one time where he just basically info dumps about his game that he's super invested in, and he's like, I'm sorry if I'm boring you, and he's just like me for real. Can you tell who my favorite is? Basically what I'm trying to say in this section is that 17,776 does a great job of analyzing humanity, our goals as people, and what our future could look like. It shows us a truly unique perspective on a distant future. In this story, there isn't really much of a beginning or an end. It's just a series of things that happen, just as everything else is in history. And honestly, that's all it needs to be. Another thing that 76 does that I thought was really interesting is that it kind of shines a light on current events. I think the most relevant one was that of global warming. Obviously, by 15,000 years in the future, it will have increased, and that it does. In the opening video, we actually see this crazy overhead shot of New York at this point in history, completely flooded and uninhabitable. We also see a virtual map of the US multiple times, which the coast has on either side completely flooded. They also briefly mention capitalism, which I thought was interesting, especially because of the mindset that capitalism in America specifically tends to give everyone. Just go, go, go. And that being happy is not innate. Instead, it's a reward for spending your entire life working. 9 themselves comments on this near the beginning, expressing confusion about play becoming the point of someone's lives. As someone who's lived their entire life in America, I can see how this would be quite the shock to someone who is used to society in the 20th century. When your entire worth is based on the quality of your work, the initial thought is that it seems like a waste to instead base your life on entertainment. Juice says something really cool about this, but I don't really know how to lead into it properly, so I'm just gonna read this to you. This is what it's supposed to be. This is how it ends. If it isn't there, it's only because it isn't there yet. It's like you're staring at a cake in the oven and wondering if it's gonna be a cake. Things went the other direction in America, and thank God for that. But capitalism deserves a zoo like this one. It's a beast of the wild as any grizzly bear with fawn's blood in its mouth. I think you see deeds and contracts and bureaucratic bloat and see something that went wrong. Something was always wrong, y'all. I love it. I love to watch it. In a zoo, where it can't hurt me. This is in reference to one game in particular that just has completely gone to shit, thanks to all the teams involved becoming too greedy and aggressive. I'm sure there are more, but I didn't take notes on them, so you'll just have to take my word for it. I think in general, It's really interesting the commentary made on America specifically throughout the comic. Like, yes, obviously it's about American football, but it includes so much more real history and critical analysis of American society than you might expect. There's a lot of mentions of historical US events as well as monuments or landmarks within the country. It's like a complete deconstruction of America as a whole, all its inner workings, the good, the bad, and the in-between. When you consider all of the indie projects that have sustained fandoms for years since their creation, 17,776 doesn't often come to mind. It's a shame because a piece of media that can have such deep messages and still keep a level of lighthearted humor and relatable characters should be among those legends of the internet. It never really seemed to reach the virality of other things like Undertale, and after it was over, people kind of quickly moved on to other things. There's even a sequel comic, 2020, which I never even heard of until I was researching for this video. Obviously, I read it immediately, but this was supposed to be about the original, so I'm sorry for not including it. So what am I trying to say? I guess I'm just hoping that anyone who watches this video and was previously unaware of this comic's existence will give it some love and hopefully enjoy it like I have. Maybe it's unrealistic, but I haven't seen any content relating to it in so long. I would love to try and bring it back into the public eye. Anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed this and it wasn't just incoherent rambling. I would appreciate a like and subscribe, and I guess if you don't know, I have a comic. It's called This Is a Comic, and it's on Webtoon. So check that out, and hopefully I'll see you again. Bye!